Coming up on show 493, Rivian will do vehicle-to-vehicle charging. Toyota and Subaru join up, and the countdown to fully charged live. All those stories and many more coming up on today's podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the show. It's Thursday, the 6th of June today. My name is Martyn Lee, and I've been through every EV story that I can find to bring you only the very best news possible. Countdown to fully charged live is on, by the way. Looking forward to, well, this time tomorrow. Chances are, depending on when you're listening to this podcast, it might already have started. Or maybe if you are quick off the mark, then we are on the countdown to 3 days at somewhere called Silverstone here in the UK. 3 days of EVs, sustainable energy, and all those kind of things at Fully Charged Live. Thank you as always to myev.com for helping make this show. It is the world's first marketplace all about buying and selling EVs. We are in the midst of a revolution, and at the very heart of that is myev.com in the USA only. And goodness, I would love to have that as a resource here in the UK. Lots of people are thinking, okay, well, maybe I can't afford a new one, and leasing's not my thing because, you know, in all honesty, leasing's not my thing, because I buy used cars, and it would be great to have a resource like that. So if you're in the USA, don't pass the opportunity to go to myev.com. New Patreon supporters, by the way, thank you so much. Thank you to you. A new producer of the show, Christian Mahler. Christian Mahler, thank you so much. And a brand new executive producer, Pontus Kindblad. You'd think someone is supporting me, I could get their name right. Pontus, if I've said it correctly, Pontus Kindblad, I hope I've got that right. If not, let me know. I'll do it again. You know, I think one of the most important things to get right, I think, is someone's name. It's one of the most respectful things you can do. By the way, if you are coming along to Fully Charged Live, I'll be doing some of the free shuttle service from the car park to the Silverstone Wing. It's a bit of a walk, so they have Teslas and Renault Zoes doing the free taxi service, if you like, and I've signed up to that. So chances are, if you see a little white Zoe going very slowly, trying to conserve the battery because I've only got a little tiddly battery, then yeah, that'll be me. Oh, and if you jump in my one, chances are I'll have the microphones recording. So, you know, be chatty. I want to have a chat about what brings you to Fully Charged and what you're looking forward to as well. By the way, over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there will, of course, be special shows, maybe extended shows. I don't know what, but we'll see what I record at Fully Charged Live over the weekend. All of the sessions, by the way, over 30 live sessions and speeches and talks will all be podcasted by the Fully Charged team on their podcast channel, which I'm sure you are more than aware of by now. All right, let's kick off with this news about Aston Martin going to Fully Charged Live. The Aston Martin Rapide E has confirmed to be at Fully Charged Live. And I haven't seen this up close in the flesh yet, so I'm certainly going to report on this for you. It's going to be, according to InsideEVs, shown alongside a 1970 DB6 Volante EV conversion. It's the one that was on the Fully Charged channel a few months ago and converted to EV Drive, pure electric classic car by Aston Martin Works. Well, Aston Martin's vehicle line director is John Caress, which is what he does to his cars. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Said, we showcased Rapide E for the first time in Shanghai and we proved what Rapide E can do on the track in Monaco. However, I'm now incredibly pleased to be able to display Aston Martin's first all-electric model here in the UK for the first time this weekend at Fully Charged Live. The event not only highlights the level of interest in alternative technologies within the automotive industry, but also across a broader spectrum, and Rapide E embodies our interpretation of how a luxury sports car can fit within that world. Electrification is key to Aston Martin Lagonda's future, and we look forward to showcasing the luxury brand's first step in this direction. Well, a little recap of what the Aston Martin Rapide E can do. A range of over 200 miles, not going to be class leading, probably about 100 miles short, actually. It's going to have a lightweight battery, 65 kilowatt hours. This is about performance rather than hitting the motorway for 500 miles. Nice and lightweight battery, 65 kilowatt hour, rear wheel drive, but 2 motors on the rear axle. 604 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 less than 4 seconds, top speed limited to 155. What else do I need to remember to tell you? 800 volt system on that one. Can charge at over 100 kilowatts, same as the Porsche Taycan. And if you use the onboard charger, recharging in about 3 hours. I'll pop a link to InsideEVs in the show notes. So not only had we heard that Fiat, Chrysler and Renault had both swiped in the correct way on their dating app and were looking forward to hooking up for the first time. It turned out to be a match made in hell, and now the whole merger has sadly hit the skids. They are no longer KISSING. The grand merger plan between Renault and Fiat Chrysler was barely a week old, completely fell apart yesterday, and it really came out of nowhere. Everything was great, everyone was saying the right things, and Jalopnik says that all of a sudden statements came out the deal was dead. Jalopnik also say that who killed it depends on who you ask. The Wall Street Journal, by the way, with an account blaming an increasingly spiteful Renault partner, which is Nissan. And of course, we know this isn't the father of the Nissan Leaf, Carlos Ghosn, of course, is still defending himself, so he's no longer running Nissan. Nissan representatives, though, prepared to abstain if Renault's board took a vote. The French government asked for more time so that the finance minister could use an upcoming visit to Japan to try and argue their case and press the case for a merger with the Japanese. But they said it's going to be a no-go. Complicating the consummation of the deal was the 2-decade partnership between Renault and Nissan, the alliance, the Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi alliance. They share technology, they share vehicle parts, they share EV bits going forward as well. They haven't done up to now, I don't think, in a meaningful way. The Zoe and the Leaf, very different cars. I gather going forward, sharing more EV bits. Renault, it's not a 50-50 partnership, though. Renault owns 43.4% of Nissan, but Nissan only owns 15% of Renault. So Renault have the upper hand in that partnership. Well, people close to Fiat Chrysler and Renault said the merger, to succeed, if it was going to happen, it needed Nissan's buy-in, in part because the company co-owns the intellectual property, certainly in the EV space, the electric space, that Fiat Chrysler would have wanted to get their hands on, and Nissan weren't going for that. Or was it not Nissan? Was it not Renault, but the state of France? Because, yes, that's right, the French government has a 15% stake in Renault, and they'd welcomed the merger plan. But according to Reuters, the government tried to overplay their hand by pushing for a series of guarantees and concessions that eventually exhausted the patience of Fiat Chrysler. Sources familiar with the talks said. Wrong-footed by FCA's decision to suddenly withdraw from the merger late yesterday, a French official was said to have called the chairman of FCA early this morning on Thursday to see if they could reconsider, but he was rebuffed. So that deal is dead in the water. And FCA, I think, need to certainly then have a look at all their electric vehicle technology and work out what are they going to do, because there's no doubt they are behind and having to do things like, in Europe at least, pay hundreds of millions, if not billions, to Tesla, to a bit like they do in the US, where they're kind of buying green credits. Similar thing over here, but they're forming a pool with Tesla. What are Fiat Chrysler going to do? They haven't got access to Renault Nissan's EV tech, and of course Renault Nissan could have done with Fiat Chrysler through brands like Jeep, their access to the US. Let's move on to pretty much the darling of the EV world, and the more people rave about Rivian, I don't know what it is, the more my defences go up, and it's very bizarre. Rivian seem to be able to do no wrong, but it's not that, because I wish everyone well, I wish everyone the best, but everyone seems so obsessed with Rivian, like they're the saviours of the EV space, that they won't stop going on about them. The more that happens, the more I'm becoming less and less of a fan as the days go on. Rivian's CEO, RJ Scaringe, recently shared some new insights about the truck and the SUV, the R1T for truck and the R1S for the SUV, with the publication The Drive. During the interview, he said about their battery technology, and this is reported by Simon from Teslarati. He noted that the company is preparing solutions to enable the drivers to recharge their vehicles off the grid at auxiliary battery packs. The CEO also added the company would allow vehicle-to-vehicle charging, allowing two Rivians to charge each other. He said, and I quote, "We've designed the vehicle so you can have auxiliary battery packs. You can also charge Rivian to Rivian, which is a great thing. You connect the two vehicles, then I could hand you some electrons," end quote. And this, in a way, reminds me of some of the things that Elon and Tesla did in the early days, like battery swapping, but they actually... Firstly, they built some cars. Firstly, they actually built the Roadster, then they actually built the Model S, then they built swappable battery packs, then they built the stations where you could pull in and have your battery pack swapped out. The problem is, nobody wanted to. Once you've bought the car, you've bought the battery, and nobody could get their head around the fact that hang on, so the battery that I bought with the car is out and then there's a new battery in, and hang on a minute, and it's a big battery. They didn't need to do that. But they tried it. So in a way, Rivian remind me of this. Like, hey, there's a thing we can do. We're going to do it. They're not doing it, though. Like, I don't want to sound like one of these kind of internet people, like the gas oil lobby fans that are like, oh yeah, let me know when an EV can do 800 miles and I'll buy one. But I'm going to sound a little bit like that let me know when Rivian have got something I can actually have a look at, and not just at a motor show behind a rope with heavy security. You know what I mean? Like, clearly there's something going on with Rivian because they're getting massive investment, but they just they've got the PR sorted, right? At the moment, everyone is just a raving fan of them. And maybe it's my personality. The more I'm told I have to like this thing, the more I'm like, hang on a minute, I'll make my own mind up. And at the minute, I'm not so sure. So good luck to Rivian. I'll pop a link to Teslarati in the show notes if you want to read more. My favourite company, Toyota. I only joke, of course. My only problem with Toyota is their self-charging hybrid ads in the UK, which disparage full EVs for the sake of hybrids. They show the previous TV ad. If you're new to the podcast and you wonder what my love of Toyota is all about, they've run TV ads before where there's an EV charger covered in cobwebs as a hybrid drives past. The most recent one shows somebody in the middle of a desert standing next to their car with the EV charger plugged in, like they're pumping gas, like you would do. Like, who plugs their car in and waits by it when they're charging an EV? And then somebody in a hybrid sails past and they're like, wow, yeah, plug-in hybrids are so good, they self-charge. They don't. You have to put petrol in them. They're petrol charging hybrids. They're fossil gobblers. They are not self-charging hybrids. There's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid. However, let's wish them all the best. Toyota and Subaru, of course, they have already a partnership, today disclosed that they are going to jointly develop a new platform dedicated to pure battery electric vehicles. The platform is going to cater for mid-size and large passenger vehicles in a C-segment class pure electric car under each company's own brand. By combining their respective strengths, like all-wheel drive technology that Subaru has got a reputation for over many years, with electrification technologies and the battery tech that Toyota have got, they can bring that together, and they intend to take up the challenge of creating attractive products that appeal to people who want a pure EV. And again, all this is a press release that says they have agreed to develop a thing at some point in the future. This is not a downer of a podcast. I'm just saying they're not actually doing the thing. They've said they're going to do the thing. Let's talk about someone who is doing the thing, and that's Tesla, who I want to read some more about this there is one article online today from one well-known car site saying that they are set to do a mega Q2 for deliveries. And I just want to read a little bit more around it and just understand it a bit more before I just repeat it on the podcast. However, Stephen Loveday for InsideEVs, which isn't the website I was talking about, by the way, says that he's very happy to see Motor Trend's first official test review of the Model 3 long range, the dual-motor, all-wheel drive Model 3. According to Motor Trend, it's the fourth quickest sedan they've ever tested, behind the Tesla Model S P100D, which had ludicrous mode, the Porsche Panamera and the BMW M5, and the Mercedes-AMG E63S. They were both tied at 3 seconds 0 to 60, each one of which is all-wheel drive, and the Model 3 really is in that kind of rarefied air there. Motor Trend admits that all-wheel drive has not always been the go-to when it comes to sports cars. Adds weight, of course, may not be needed in sports car situations. However, with instant all-electric torque, superb traction control, and excellent road grip, it is desirable, especially for heavier cars. And we know that with the battery, that makes EVs a little bit heavier. They're a big fan of the Model 3. And finally, let's talk everyone's favourite press release company, Volkswagen. Now, I mentioned yesterday on the show that when I talked about VW have a new ad, they're kind of apologising for Dieselgate. They ran it during the NBA game in the US, a minute and a half, minute 45 seconds long. It's all about them saying, those were the dark days of VW. Hey, we have a new logo. Hey, we're making electric cars. Please forgive us. We're shutting the door on the past. As I predicted, the last 24 hours of my social media have been half the people going, wow, good on VW. That's an inspirational video. And the other half have been saying, total greenwashing. F you, VW. I'm never buying one again. And so those are the two comments that I've seen in my social. I think that pretty much reflects Probably a territory thing. I think more forgiving in Europe and a little more like, whoa, hang on, in North America. I'm painting with broad brushstrokes here, but I think that tends to be roughly what people are saying, at least on my socials. Volkswagen today have released another press release. I found this on Volkswagen's news site, their press site. They are aiming for a breakthrough in EVs by committing to installing 36,000 charge points in the next 7 years. 11,000 of them are going to be developed by the VW brand itself, installed at VW plants, VW dealerships, in towns and cities, to enhance the infrastructure, what they're calling ELI, or ELI, E-L-L-I, Electric Life, E-L, Electric, L-I, Life, E-L-L-I, L-E. Yeah. It's their charging service called WeCharge. Volkswagen's also moving into a lucrative business area connected with charging. All in all, the group is investing €250 million at its European locations. At the same time, they're calling for other measures to take effect rapidly for more people to build charging stations in their home country of Germany. I'll put a link to that press release in the show notes. Right, let's move on to our question of the week this week, and I would love to hear from you. If you have a say on this question set by myev.com, as always, should EVs still qualify for special treatment and incentives? Things like money off the car, tax breaks. In the US, by the way, if you didn't know, there is the federal tax credit. So you pay the full sticker price of the car, but then on next year's tax bill, you get up to $7,500 off. Should you be able to drive in bus lanes, park for free in car parks, be allowed into congestion zones? Should EVs, now they're becoming more popular, still qualify for incentives? Email me your thoughts. My email is hello@evnewsdaily.com. You can leave a comment on Facebook and YouTube. Well, there are 214 patrons of the show. Thank you very much for all my Patreon supporters. If you would like to find out what it's all about, Patreon, patreon.com/EVNewsDaily. There are 492 previous shows online for free in the archive, but the new ones are all available first and free and automatically as long as you're a subscriber. Costs nothing to subscribe on either YouTube or your podcast platform, your podcast app, iTunes, Google Podcasts. It's not called iTunes anymore, it's called Apple Podcasts. Google Podcasts, Spotify. Why not subscribe on both? Treat yourself. If you want to come and say hi on the socials, just search EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.